Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I am an advocate for OCD, in particular Pure OCD, which is also the name of my book. Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I do peer support worldwide, helping people and supporting them as they're working toward recovery. I can also connect you to therapists anywhere around the world that specialize in treating OCD. I am continuing my series on talking about different themes that come up for OCD. Don't worry, I'm going to get through these in the next couple weeks, and then I'm going to resume my videos that are more recovery journey oriented. I'm compiling a list of things that are coming up in groups and meeting with clients that I feel like are relevant to recovery and things that really can help you emotionally as you are moving through the process. But I just wanted to do the themes so you can relate if you're struggling with something. I do want to preface that when I touch on these themes, I don't always touch on your symptoms. This is just kind of an overview. And so if you are listening to my video and I don't touch on something that you do, or if you do something and it's different than I say, remember, I cannot hit every single thing that every single person experiences with all of these themes. So take this as kind of a general outline of what these themes are about. I am going to be talking about magical thinking today. I think this is the first video I've ever done on magical thinking, which is bizarre because magical thinking is a huge part of my life. And maybe I didn't realize it was a huge part of my life until recently, and I'll get into that. But it was very big in my original OCD story. Before I even got treatment and when I lived with OCD for 12 years without knowing. So I'll get into that, and then I'll get into what it is and how it can manifest. I'm going to be taking some information off of NoCD's website. They have great information and resources. They are an app in OCD, and inside the app you can connect with people who have OCD, share stories, and they also do teletherapy, ERP, in many places all over the world. So check them out at treatmyocd.com. So let's get into it. Magical thinking. It is just about exactly what it sounds like. Thinking things that are kind of magical and not real. Now, the most basic part of, if we want to break it down, the most basic part of what magical thinking is it all starts for us when we're kids. Superstitions. Step on a crack, break your mother's back. I mean, you remember that shit? I remember being paranoid about stepping on cracks. And I'd be like, Mom, are you okay? That's the kind of stuff that really jump starts magical thinking. You get these superstitions, all these things that you hear, all these things that you may see that if you do this, there's going to be this kind of consequence. That kind of stuff gets stuck in our head. It can seem innocent enough, right? But magical thinking can become very complex, almost to the point where it feels delusional. Don't take that in the wrong way. Don't be like, does that mean I have psychosis? No. But if you get really deep into magical thinking, sometimes you almost it can seem like you're losing touch with reality because you are banking on some of these signs, or I have to do things this way, or I can't do this with this number, and if I do this, something bad's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. It's almost like you get so caught up in that, and you can see that from a compulsive standpoint, right? How those compulsions can get really deep, and you can get really invested in them and very preoccupied with them. So magical thinking, I'm just going to explain to you how this manifested for me. When I was younger, magical thinking was a very big part of my OCD. So I had in my first theme was metaphobia, so the fear of vomit, and then coupled with that I had religious scrupulosity. So how religious scrupulosity, and I'll do a video on that in the next week or so. Religious scrupulosity, how it showed up for me was I thought as an 8-year-old that I was being punished with these bad thoughts about vomit and these bad feelings, anxiety, but I didn't know that as an 8-year-old, right? You don't know this anxiety, you just know you feel like shit. So I thought to myself, I must have done something wrong and God is punishing me. And so the magical thinking for me in that started to manifest in good days and bad days. So a good day was a day that I went through the entire day without being nauseous, without encountering anything that gave me anxiety about throwing up. And I mean, when you're in elementary school, y'all know people barf all the time everywhere. I mean, that's a lie, but you know, there's barf on any given day. and there's splatters everywhere, and you go out and like the fucking tire swings, like you don't even want to go near that is just like a barf machine. So anywhere that you can go, there's the potential for barf. So this was a kind of an all day, every day thing for me. But I was monitoring all the time whether or not I was exposed to the vomit, or if I was exposed to someone who looked like they vomited, or were going to vomit, or had vomited. And so things that would manifest for magical thinking for me would be, okay, nothing happened, so today must have been a good day. So what did I do this morning when I got up in order to make it be a good day? So I would get up at the same time every day. I wouldn't get out of the bed until my clock said this time. Then I would do everything in order. So brushing my teeth, washing my face, making my bed this way, putting all my pillows and my stuffed animals this way. I would leave for the bus at this time. So everything had to be structured, because if I did that, that means I would have a good day, meaning I wasn't going to be exposed to the intrusive thoughts. Now, if I had a bad day and this had become my routine, then I would think to myself, I did something wrong in the routine. So now I have to be really mindful tomorrow of my routine to make sure I do everything correct so I would have a good day. Now, also in this, which was coupled with the religious scrupulosity, is that, my dog's barking, is that I had a prayer ritual at the end of the night. So then I had to close my eyes. It was 11:11 when I would close my eyes. I don't know why probably because someone didn't barf one day, and the night before I remembered 11:11. I don't know. And then I had this elaborate prayer I had to say. If I fell asleep in the middle of the prayer, holy shit. The next day I would wake up and be panicked that because I didn't do my ritual correctly, that meant it was going to be a bad day. So in giving you these examples, I hope that you can see how magical thinking can really become part of everything that you do. So I'm just going to go down some other things, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how magical thinking has impacted me now, and even more in my story. So not saying or thinking words because you're scared that those words might cause harm. This can go very much into superstition. This can go into like evil, like religious scrupulosity, words that you might deem evil. I can't think those words. I can't say those words out loud, because if I say them, that means this is going to happen. Again, this could be because something happened that triggered you and you thought, oh my gosh, it's because I said that word earlier in the day. That's how easy the connection can be made with magical thinking, and how it can become compulsive. So not doing things in a specific way will cause something bad to happen. The easiest example to look at this, especially with the vomit thing for me, was if I didn't make my bed a certain way. When I was in middle school, I had a whole routine that made me believe that I warded off every person in the world that vomited. And it included like painting my nails every single morning and having to do everything in a specific order, eating the same things. So it was really hard for me to change what I ate if I felt like I was in a cycle that supported this magical thinking about vomit. So another way to think about this would be, okay, I have to make my bed every day the same way, or I have to eat things in a certain order, or I have to eat the same thing because that will keep my family safe. Or if I do something in a specific order, that means there won't be a plane crash or something. So they are so far not related, but in our minds, we get hooked onto that compulsion of I am responsible for the safety of others or the safety of myself based on doing this routine and this ritual. Neutralizing bad thoughts, trying to replace bad thoughts. This is absolutely magical thinking. You probably don't hear that often, but it is. So if I'm having a negative thought, if I have a negative word come in, if I have a negative image, okay, I want to replace that with something positive. It will neutralize that, and then the threat is gone. So this is completely magical thinking. So some of the compulsions, which as you're hearing, I'm saying these as I'm talking about it, repeating words, maybe positive words, or making sure that you're saying something correctly so nothing bad will happen. Staying true to your routine and your ritual. Okay, if I do this routine, and so I'm a very routine-oriented person. I do the same shit every single morning. I mean, sometimes I even get on the string where I wake up at the same time every day. It's very weird. I don't even like set my internal alarm clock, and I walk down and it's like 7:48, and I'm like, really? Again today? That's weird. It got in my head a little bit one time when I was having like intrusive thoughts about demons in the house. Yes, that did happen to me. I'll talk about that with the religious scrupulosity. But anyway, I'm very routine oriented, but sometimes I get too routine oriented. So I break it a little just to make sure that it's not building some sort of ritual that's making me think something bad would happen. Recently, over the last, I would say, year, because I've kind of gone through a lot in my life and a lot of different changes, I have this specific coffee cup that I have now associated with having a bad day. And I have no idea why. And it's so pretty. It's like green at the top. I love it. But sometimes if I'm extra anxious or just feeling some anxiety, I will, if that cup is available, I will push it to the side and get another cup. This is bad, y'all. That is a compulsion. So I have no idea how this cup got associated with bad days. But so now I try to use that cup, especially when I'm anxious. I reach for it on purpose, and I think about, okay, I'm gonna use this cup, and that might mean that something bad might happen, or I might feel bad, or whatever the theme is at that time. So, look, object coffee cup. Clothing. Oh man, this is a big one. So when I was younger, and I know that y'all know this, clothing, it can be anything. It doesn't have to just be clothing, but it can be anything that you're wearing or a song that you hear. When I was younger, I had this record. Yes, I'm dating myself. I had a record player, a single record. It was plastic. And I had the song by Eddie Murphy. Most of y'all are gonna be like, who? And then you're gonna be like, he had a song. It was called My Girl Wants to Party All the Time. And I had that record, a single. And my sister was throwing up one. God, she used to vomit like nobody's business. She'd vomit like 14 times in a row too. And it was loud. So I was like sit in my room like this. Oh my God. Like, when is it gonna stop? Because I was so worried. So one night when she was sick, I played Eddie Murphy, My Girl Wants to Party All the Time, over and over and over and over. And now that song came on the radio, or I can't say her name because she'll come on, but the whatever, Pandora radio. And it came on the other day, and I had this surge of anxiety and thought, oh my gosh, am I going to vomit now? So things can get tied to specific triggers, and then you think to yourself, I heard the song, that means this. Clothing is the same way. I remember when I would have a bad day at school and someone would vomit, or I would get nauseous, or I would get sick, I would associate whatever that clothing was with that trigger. And so I would never wear those clothes again, and it was sad. Brian barfed on my members only jacket, and it was my favorite. It was gray leather, and I never wore it again, and I was pissed, but I had to sacrifice it for the magical thinking. And then last thing I put was just superstitions. So I already kind of covered that. Any sort of superstition you're told when you're a kid, you can really latch onto that shit and be like, oh, it's going to come true, but I can make sure that I don't do this in order to do that. So yeah, I think I went over most of the examples that I wanted to do in my own life. Oh, I wanted to go to this one too. So another thing about magical thinking that sometimes you may not think about are looking for signs. When I was really sick with OCD, and I didn't know it was OCD, and I was living with it 24/7, so I had sexual orientation OCD, and emetophobia, and religious scrupulosity. Part of what I would do as a compulsion with the religious scrupulosity is I would ask for signs. If if this isn't real, if this is real and I'm really supposed to be gay, give me a sign. If I'm going to vomit today, give me a sign. If this, and here's the thing. What signs are you looking for? You're looking for what you want to look for. And also, that can become very convoluted when it's OCD, right? Because then you're almost looking for both. Am I going to, or am I not? So then it becomes this whole, and I used to do this a lot. In fact, I attempted suicide when I was 20, and that suicide attempt happened based on that. It was like, give me a sign. And it's instead of, and this is where I'm saying it can get kind of delusional, is that at that point I was severely depressed. I hadn't slept for weeks and weeks. So I was actually very, very ill. But when you get into that mindset of looking for things that are going to tell you this or looking for things that are going to tell you that, it is hard to buy out of that, right? Because the buy-in is so easy because you can see proof anywhere. Anywhere. You can see proof or disproof anywhere. So this is why the signs thing can be pretty tough. And you really have to recognize that you're doing it. I'm going to tell you something. I got mixed up in this. Mixed up like it's some gang or something. I got mixed up in this in the last year. There was something that I went through. God, what was it? Something I had to make a decision on or something like that. And I found myself, and it was weeks worth of trying to figure something out. And I found myself, I didn't use God and I don't have religious scrupulosity, but I was looking at more of like, universe, send me a sign, send me this, send me that. And I got mixed up in that thinking of okay, I'm going to get this sign today, and then that's going to mean I should move ahead with this, or that means I should back off on this, or whatever it was. And I did this for weeks, and then at one point it backfired on me. And I realized what was going on, and I realized how deep into that I had gotten, and a lot, and it was all anxiety. To me, it just seemed normal of like, well, I'm just going to get some sort of message that's going to tell me what I need to do. No, I did not get a message because I was looking for what I wanted to see, or what I didn't want to see. And that's where compulsions can get so mixed up when it comes to magical thinking. Remember, with OCD, with your themes, you are looking for proof and disproof. That is the role of a compulsion, right? When you're arguing back with your brain, you're trying to prove to your brain you are this or you aren't this, or this is true or this is not true. So when your compulsions are starting to get wrapped up in, I need to see this, or if I do this way, then this is going to happen, you're trying to control an outcome where there is no control. Does that make sense? I mean, you can't really answer me, but I'm hoping it makes sense. And this is where magical thinking can be really tough to recognize and also really tough to separate from, because we really just want to control the outcome, don't we? We really just want to know what the outcome is going to be. So with all of this said, I'm glad I got to share some of my examples with you. I struggle with magical thinking more than I even know. Like, if I could look around the house, I could even see like everything is set up the same way every single day. I go through the same routine every day. So I do try to mix things up sometimes, just in case it's becoming too routine oriented for me to need to control. So magical thinking, it can sneak in so many different ways. It is just like any other theme, and it can be treated. Sometimes it feels harder, I think, to pull yourself away from it, because you somehow will think, I am responsible for not causing harm because I'm doing this, or because I'm counting, or because of this and this and this and this. So it's just like any theme. It's hard to take the risk and live with the uncertainty. I hope this made sense. I'm so glad I got to do a video on this. I haven't before, and it is very relevant in my life, and I have to be very mindful of it. If you are looking for peer support or referral consultations, head on over to ChrissyHodges.com. And also, if you're looking for NoCD ERP therapy, TreatMyOCD.com. I'll see you a little bit later, probably early next week, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye now.